What about symbols?
Everything's a symbol.
Yes, exactly. In fact, that was one of the most important things we discovered as we became serious in our search.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I think the first time I got a glimpse, aside from the fact that both of us have seen transcendent qualities in geometry and things like that.
Oh, sure. Yes. And now that you mention it, mathematics is one of those things.
And it is. That's right.
Not only true, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's true in whatever realm it exists in. Like anything else, the incompleteness theorem applies. But yes, so we know that we had seen mental objects that didn't have any physical existence, but were loaded with meaning.
Right.
And anyone who was really attracted to math had that experience. That applies to both of them. And I'm sure that we're not alone.
No, I think you say for people who are attracted to math or
even people who aren't that attracted but are learning math, there are some aha places where you see them.
Yeah, or as the mathematicians sometimes say, a proof is not only true, it's beautiful.
That's right. Wonder of the true. And even computer programs admire something elegant. That's the way to describe some kind of beauty. But I think the first time that I identified it as a concept was probably when Gurdjieff or Alfens wrote about objective art.
Oh, yes, that's right.
That's when I suddenly realized that all these religious symbols were like to them.
Yes, and as that book went on to describe, what we call traditional art is a way of communicating a doctrine.
Right, exactly. Across time.
Across time, yes. Things that cannot be communicated in things like words.
Yeah, exactly.
And that opened up a whole view of the art and architecture of traditional culture. That it wasn't just nice and it wasn't just beautiful, it was an expression of an understanding.
Exactly. And that art is never about itself. A lot of things are only about themselves. But I remember remarking, I think it was to my broker, that good art isn't something you look at, it's something you look through. And she was pretty amazed at that. It didn't surprise her, but the formulation that she really appreciated.
Well, it's a good formulation.
Yeah, when you look at a canvas, if it's good art, it's a window.
Right. Through which one can see the true.
Yeah. Or certainly see way past the pigment.
Well, that brings up, it just brings to my mind a quotation, I think it's Kashmir, about where is the portrait? Is it in the canvas? Is it in the paint? Is it in the frame?
In the mind.
Yeah, that's right. You bring that to the canvas. You don't get it out of the canvas.
It's the same place the plant waves.
Yes, well said.
So, the nice thing about symbols is that you're never just looking at a fact, you're always looking at more. And it's like only this ism, or the mindset where things are just what they are. Like merely this ism. I can't remember the term that I run across it, and I don't know, maybe it was in Life of the Perplexed or someplace. It was used to describe a way of seeing that didn't see past the surface of what it saw.
And wasn't necessarily a limitation.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like whataboutism.
Sounds rather modern.
Well, yeah, I don't remember if it sounded modern or if it just sounded like a logical neologism. But anyway, somebody used it to great advantage. But finally, how does the world misunderstand them? Well, they think they're just that. They just think this is it. Of course, it's a very positive, profound sentiment. Well, the world doesn't understand, basically. I mean, they think that this thing stands for that thing, as if it were a one-to-one mapping.
Yes, that must be like only this isn't.
Yeah, sort of, except that this can be a symbol for that, but finally no more than that, and that is no more than this. You know, like words in another language do the same thing. And when people in the West talk about scripture, and the contrast between figurative and literal, figurative just means it stands for something else. It doesn't mean that conveys anything more. It just means it's supposed to bring something to mind.
Is that the difference between a sign and a symbol?
Yes, it probably is. Yeah, I would think, although it's close to the same as.
Well, are there any particular symbols that you find poignant or important?
You know, I don't know if it's simply because of my exposure to the fourth way, but I keep coming back to that, what they would call the law of three. I don't think of it as the law. I just think about it as a fundamental symbol, extremely economical symbol of levels of reality and duality and resolution of duality. I mean, if you think about...
Sure, that's the symbolic understanding of 1 and 2 and 3, or 12 for that matter, which is a 1 and a 2.
Or a 3 and a 4.
Yes, but the 1 and 2 thing is its unicity and duality combined.
Right, exactly. And it implies a process in both directions.
Yes, that's true.
So it's not static, exactly.
No.
So that one keeps hanging around. And fractals have become important.
In what way?
In the sense that they demonstrate simultaneously level and scale and sameness and unity and diversity, multiplicity and unity, and they just manifest a process of manifestation in which it's all one, it's all the same thing, but look at all the, I don't know, there are times that when I'm contemplating some sort of a kind of a practice that
Get back
traditional symbolism.
Let's get back to our journey.
All right.
Are there symbolic moments or moments with symbols that shed any light on anything? One thing I remember, and I don't know how old I was at the time, I might have been in high school, but I was walking on the campus of, I think it was Antioch University, and there was a statue, and I don't know who it was, and I don't exactly remember the symbols that were in one hand and the other, but it was something like a wreath in one hand and a hammer in the other. And I suddenly got what was at issue was the relationship between justice and mercy. And there it was starkly displayed. And I just thought, that's amazing.
It is. Here's this sculpture, and all of a sudden, it's about these fundamental but abstract principles.
Yes, and it goes from nice piece of art to, oh my goodness, the depth of that question.
Yeah, exactly. Well, even the Statue of Liberty and even the weird pyramid on good example still.
Good example.
And certain coats of arms, a great deal of the U.S. with an olive branch in one talon and arrows in the other.
Yes, perhaps that's the same symbol. Or very simple in terms of what a government is.
It's fundamentally the same duality. And also when I started studying French, the idea of masculine and feminine being applicable to all kinds of things. There were qualities implied that obviously were not man and woman.
Oh, yes. A feminine quality. And we would later say an expression of the divine feminine.
Yeah, that hadn't occurred to me, but the notion that gender was a more fundamental or a bigger or wider property that wasn't just biological shape. There were all these subtle qualities implied.
Seemingly more fundamental.
That's right.
Than the expression.
Yes, because they're not so particularized.
Yes.
Why is the room and the house feminine? Freud had his own thoughts about that containers were feminine and there's something like this there.
Yes.
But symbols, I suppose we were always vaguely aware of them. They show up in architecture. They were certainly on our money. I remember my display when they switched from they changed the penny from having the wheat back to just having a building, historical building.
I remember that.
Yeah, 1959, I believe. But when you see architecture, especially old architecture, Roman, Greek, Gothic, and all of those things, there's something. It's not just a building.
Yeah, that's the point. And it's not just about sort of contemporary ideas about what looks good.
But it's not mere decoration. And actually, if you think about it, decoration is kind of silly unless it meant something in the beginning. Why would you put something non-functional on your pottery or food or whatever?
And similarly, in many ways, or earlier, you never asked the question about what does this object really mean?
Exactly. And symbols imply meaning.
Yes.
Look at those Gothic cathedrals. Well, I've got craters all over it.
With all, what all over it?
Craters.
Yes, exactly.
Well, those human figures, those saints, everything else.
Yeah, and it's not just a menagerie of creatures. They all instantiate some particular quality.
Right, exactly.
Well, I mean, and
it wasn't until I got to Gainon.
Well, I mean, we started somewhere in this conversation with the phrase that all language is approximate. But language itself is a symbol. And that's why, at least one of the things that's always appealed so profoundly and poignantly is poetry, which in many ways, by its very nature, points outside of itself.
Yeah, poetry is not a message, it's an experience.
Yes, well said. That can certainly be true. And there's something about poetry that always was clearer to me than other symbols, but it's the same principle. It's a finger pointing at the moon.
Right. It's an invitation.
Yes, right. It's an invitation.
I mean, think about how, we grow up in the world. It actually is full of symbols. We've got flags. We've got a flagpole with an eagle on top. What's that? There's all kinds of things. Even in a really, really materialist, secular society, the notion that architecture would just become
decoration
or geometric functional spaces. They're really geometric. They might have some 3D, or you might be able to see something. But symbols are not. So many objects are not lost. It's kind of like the triangle representing manifestation and return. Symbols have a kind of life. It isn't just a static thing because it's a thing that you don't just experience, but experience it more organically.
Yes, and that's how or why these ancient expressions of things are still alive.
Yes, they still inspire some sense of awe or mystery or something.
Yes, and in many ways you kind of need the code in order to read it. In many ways, once you've got one code, much of it is intelligible across the economy of cultures.
Well, yeah. Certain things are just fundamental shapes of at least human consciousness. They're always bigger than their instantiation.
Yes, and that was their intent.
That's the whole point,